half of the work of getting really good therapy is finding a therapist who is good at their job, and the other half is doing what you can to bring the information that is going to be most transformational for you. Hello, you sexy and gorgeous creature. Welcome to Practice Intimacy. This is the place to be to learn all about love, sex, and how to have the best relationships you possibly can. And today we are talking about 3 things that you can do in order to have the best therapy sessions possible. Therapy is a wonderful service. It is not the end-all be-all thing that everyone needs. I would never ever say that because I don't believe it. There are people who would do great going to a therapist. There are people who would do great going to a coach. There are people who would do amazing going to a shamanic healer. There are people who would do amazing going to Peru and taking ayahuasca. It is so wonderful that we live in a time where there are many options as to how you can get help. Find what's right for you. It might even just be like going to yoga classes every week. Find the thing that works for you. Find the combination of things that work for you, and know that during certain seasons of your life, you may need one thing. Like you go through something traumatic, you might need a therapist for a little while. Or other seasons, you might need something else. Be aware that whatever you need, if you use these tools, they're actually going to apply to every piece of work that is about you becoming more whole, more integrated, more loving and accepting of this life, and also transform the life into at least closer to what you want. You may not get every single thing you want, but closer to what you want. And so the 3 tips, let's start with the very first one. The very first one is going towards whatever is most painful inside of you. So often we are not only taught in our culture, but also wired to avoid the things that are painful. Like, we're animals, just like every other species on this planet. We are designed, I say designed, evolved really. We are evolved to seek out what feels good and to avoid things that are painful. However, if you want to do transformational work, if you want to make big changes in your life, the important thing is to move toward whatever pain point is happening inside. Find the discomfort and point your focus there. Whether the discomfort is something like, I really want to have more sex with my partner and they're unavailable, or the discomfort is, I really want to find a partner and it feels so hard, or the discomfort is, I used to love my spouse and now I don't feel as interested and I don't know if I'm going to leave. Whatever the pain point is, parts of you are going to want to shy away from it, but the answer truly is to dive into it. Like, feel it fully. Don't run from those feelings. Let them be as open and expressed as humanly possible, because that is how you're going to find your answer. If you don't actually get to know those hard, painful places inside, you're not going to be able to find a true answer, because you're only going to have half the truth. You're going to have all the things that are not necessarily nice, but you'll be avoiding what would actually give you a full picture of whatever experience you're in. So that's number 1. Number 1, dive into the discomfort. Don't ignore it. Don't avoid it. Don't try and pretend like it's not there. And it's not trying so much. We have so many defensives that are going to make you think everything's fine, I'm fine, when really you're not. Dive into the thing that hurts. Really bring it every single time you can. The second tip I'm going to give you about how to really use any healing space, but in particular therapy, is to listen to the information that your brain, your nervous system is giving you. There's 2 ways to do this. First is really understanding how the brain works. So it speaks in a couple of different languages. It speaks in thoughts, so the words that might run through your mind. It speaks in images, things that you might see, or even like impressions of information, like you might have a smell of your aunt's house or the feeling of petting your cat. Technically that's an image. I know it's confusing, but this is how it's talked about in interpersonal neurobiology, which is what I studied, and also somatic experiencing, Peter Levine's work. So An image could be either a picture or a snippet of data from your history, like a tactile or sensory piece of information. Okay, let's get back to it. There's a list. So cognitions, images, behaviors is another way your nervous system might speak to you. So maybe what you're listening for is a physical impulse where you want to pull away or close up or move forward or like grab a person. That kind of physical impulse is another way that your brain is going to speak to you. Another one is with sensation. So if you have sensations in the viscera, that's the heart space, the gut, basically your core, if you have sensations here, that is basically how emotions are experienced in the body. And it's another way that our brain speaks to us. It's just one way of understanding the emotional experience is digging into the sensation. And then the final way that our brain speaks to us is through emotion, your affect, your mood. How are you feeling in that moment? Do you notice that you're feeling down and heavy? Do you notice that you're feeling like kind of jittery and panicky, like whatever feeling is present, along with there are potentially sensations and all of that too. But if you get an actual emotion, whether it's fear or sadness or anger or happiness, that is another way your brain's going to speak to you. And the ability to watch and listen for that kind of information is what's going to make your therapy deeper. So often people go into transformational spaces and they just want to stay up here because that's normal. And so they think about it and they talk about it, and that is not enough. It's really not. It can be useful sometimes. I mean, of course it's going to be useful. This is how we communicate. This is how you make sense of the world. But there's so much richness of information that is not only like in your body, but also pre-verbal. There's so much information about how you experience this life based on everything you learned about this life when you were under 5 years old. And none of that information, for the most part, is going to be in language. It's going to be in felt sense and image and behavior. So being able to listen deeply is the main key for learning how to unlock what's actually going on inside of you. Because a therapist can't do that. Even a great therapist cannot do that. You're going to do that. You're going to be the one who listens deeply and shares the information, even if it feels like I don't understand why I'm getting an image of a fireplace. If you share that with the person and you look at it together, the reason that information came up will unfold. The final thing, the third thing, the final thing, is to learn that therapy is a space that is actually not meant to fix you or the life around you. It's not. That is why people go to see a therapist, myself included. That's why I became a therapist, because I thought there was going to be a silver bullet, some kind of answer that would tell me how to live this life in a way that finally felt good. And for me, some people aren't looking for this, but for me, I would never feel pain again. I would never hurt again. I would finally have the perfect partner and a great life, and I would love myself, and all of that would be wonderful. Therapy does not actually do that. It does not solve all your problems. It is not a silver bullet. Just like ayahuasca is not a silver bullet, and shamanic healing is not necessarily a silver bullet, and coaching is not a silver bullet, and yoga is not. Like, none of these things are a silver bullet, because we live in a reality that is painful, that is full of challenge and full of hurt. And so it's never going to be perfect, even though parts of you want that. And of course, parts of you want that. It would be wonderful. And also, you live in a brain and body that can imagine perfection. And who would not want something that they can imagine? But what really happens in transformational spaces, be it therapy, be it yoga, be it tantra practice, what really happens is you learn how to meet what is true. You learn how to meet reality with acceptance and love and grief that sometimes it is painful. And when you do that and you can still hold on to gratitude and a felt sense of love for you and the people around you and for this life, it's not as heavy. It's not perfect. It never will be, but it's not as heavy. And so whenever I hear different coaches and people saying things that sound so perfect and wonderful, like life is going to be so good once you do this course. Take this course and your life is going to be transformed in this way. It's not that I don't agree, because transformation can make your life better and it will feel good. Also, you will still have suffering and struggle and challenges. It's part of life. So, as you begin to do any kind of transformational work, any kind of healing work, remember these 3 keys. First, look at the uncomfortable thing. Dive deep into this comfort, because that is what is going to allow you to have a transformation. When you look at all the dark stuff, the shadow, that is what's going to lead you towards your answers, your truth, what needs to change. Next is really witnessing your mind with beautiful attention, knowing the different ways that your brain and nervous system speak to you so that you can actually get the information you need in order to make sense of what's going on with you and how to move forward in whatever thing you're trying to work on. And then the final thing is to remember that life is never going to be perfect. That's not how it works. It's about constantly getting better at feeling light and joyful and in love and in gratitude, and also holding grief, tolerance, and all of the unpleasant things like shame and fear and heartbreak and anger, holding all of those while still maintaining a felt sense of composure, groundedness, integration, all of that. Because you can be incredibly pissed off or hurt or scared and still be in an integrated brain state. That is possible, and that is really one of the biggest goals of good therapy, good transformational work in general, really. Okay, we'll end here because this has been long. Remember to like this video, subscribe to Practice Intimacy for more content like this, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.